Hello, hello, hello. This is going to be a little change of pace. I don't know, anybody who knows me knows that I used to be quite the improvisational comic actor at one point. And I'm going to see if I still got a little juice. Maybe you guys could give me some feedback on whether I still got the juice. Because I used to be very good. You know, somebody gets a suggestion. The improv, in case any of you are ignorant of the art, is to take in a suggestion from the audience at times and make it work for you. And I also did a little stand-up, not as good as stand-up. Stand-up, I was, yeah, it could be good. Sometimes not hot and cold, a little stage fright, all that kind of stuff. But improv, I was an ace, at least in the small pond I used to work in. All right, here we go. Now, we're gonna, a series of articles in the newspapers. This is over a period of time. I am going to make comic gold. Yes, comic gold out of this. And we'll see. This goes back a few times. This is in the newspapers. I got a whole bunch of them. I'm a bit of a procrastinator, so I actually had to go through all these papers, and I had like a couple of weeks or months worth of newspapers. But I'm running my mouth. I should be doing my jokes. Okay. I just saw in the paper just not that while ago, long ago, in a police station at a party, they had a lap dancer doing the chief of police's lap. Now, the shocking, but not that shocking. But when you say the lap dancer who was doing a pole dance or a lap dance in the chief of police's lap was a cop, a lady cop of great beauty. Now, what is it with these policemen? Don't they know that there's something called a camera that has been invented? You can't do that. I know you're a human being, like I'm a human being. Everybody needs a little lap dance once in a while. And God knows you defend us and you go out the ninth time, but you're a married man, according to the article, if I'm remembering right. You know, blue lives matter. But you're gonna lose your life if you go have a lap dance with one of your lady cops, and you can't do that. I disapprove. I disapprove. I'm not that square person. I'm a very open-minded person. I used to work in Plato's Retreat at one time. I was my first job. I was a virgin at the time. We could go into that. We won't go digress into that. Another time, another place. We'll talk about it. Now the political situation. Assassins hunting Zelensky. Now, I'm going to tell you something about Zelensky. I've been very impressed. First off, he's one of us. He is a comedian, as I am a comedian, or part-time comedian. Right now, I'm a boxing aficionado, the prophet of pugilism, but when I'm not doing the boxing, I'm doing the comedy, and sometimes I mix them up a little bit. Okay. Zelensky is being hunted down by Chechnyan terrorists hired by the Russians, a warlord in Chechnya, and I think it's called the something group. It's called the Wagner group. What kind of James Bond kind of situation is going on there in Chechnya? The Yukis. I actually know a lot of Yukis because I lived in a neighborhood that in the Lower East Side that we had a little colony. Very nice people, a little quiet, a little nice. They had nice dress restaurants, but let's not go into my past. Let's go into the present. Who will play Zelensky when his story goes into the movies? I don't even Tom Cruise, who's about the size of Zelensky, since he's a little guy. You know what I think? First off, besides being a patriot who is saving his country and fighting the good fight and putting himself at risk with all these Russian assassins coming after him, that KGB bastard Putin going after him. He's very impressive to me. I don't even know if anybody could play him. He's a comedian who turned into Winston Churchill. And let me tell you, he's done more for short men than Napoleon did. Because here's this guy. Next time you're under 5'6" or 5'4" or whatever, and something you stick up for yourself and you're called, you got a Napoleonic complex. No, 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 little short person. You could go, I have a Zelensky complex. And I rise to the occasion even though I don't make 5'4". And he's inspired something. You know what? The Swiss are jumping in on this. And they're not only neutral. You know how the Swiss are, my God. All they do is ski and bank. And they're taking sides. Hitler and the Kaiser couldn't make them do this. But Putin and that noble guy Zelensky had it. Yeah, Putin has inspired a lot of people to take sides. This is good and evil. Good versus evil. Two little guys, because quite honestly, Putin is not that tall a guy too, 5'6", judo expert, has those evil eyes, those high cheekbones. He's a Japan to him, I tell you. Anyway, another thing that's happening in the great Eastern Bloc or formal in the year is when the Ukrainians have to find out whether Russian spies are trying to penetrate their lines, they apparently, there's a word for challah bread, because that's the kind of breads that the Ukrainians eat, that the Russians cannot fully pronounce. If you ever watched the old World War II movies, when we had spies, German spies who tried to make the lines, what would happen was they would say, hey, do you know who Babe Ruth is? Do you know the score of the Yankees game? And if you didn't know it, bum, bum, bum. They simplify it in the Eastern Bloc, where if you don't know the right pronunciation of a challah bread, bum, bum, bum. It's a rough fight that's going on there. Now, another thing. Every day when I open the paper, I hear bad things happening, stabbings, people pushing people in front of trains, punching. And now the lunatic population is assaulting women, and it's usually the females who are the victims here. But poop. This guy, man, they say homeless man. I wish they wouldn't say homeless man, because there are people without homes who are perfectly nice people. I think they should call lunatic, violent lunatic, smears poop in a woman's face. I'm hoping for widespread martial arts training among the female population. Even though I'm a fairly obnoxious person, and I might be the victim of some woman getting rough with me, because I can be obnoxious. Although, if I'm 62 at this point, that would clearly be elder abuse, and I could charge her with a hate crime. I would go to the law. My upper body strength isn't once was. Anyway, talking about a guy who gets obnoxious, Cuomo, the governor, is making a comeback. A comeback, my friend. That whole thing where he was supposed to have molested a whole bunch of people, female people, who worked in his office, taking liberties, and outside his office. Now, normally, I don't defend this sort of thing, because I think molestation is bad. But Cuomo is Italian, and I'm 1/5 Italian. And the 1/5 Italian of me says, look, we Italians are very physical people, affectionate people. It was all affection. Plus, those ladies had no right to be that attractive. No. You work for the governor. You know he has tendencies in Italian. He's a suave. He's a Latin lover. And he's going to get frisky with you. That's the truth. He's Italian. What can I say? He's going to hug you. You have these appendages that get in the way. And also that state trooper who's suing. Let me tell you about your state trooper. Who can resist a woman in uniform? Come on. So he made his liberties. Now I know what you're gonna say. How about those 20,000 elderly people who got killed because he put the COVID people in the old folks' home. Look, mistake. And he can't go and say because he's an Italian. He's an alpha male. He can't admit his mistakes. He's like a great president. The tool of the gods, Trump. Never admit that you made a mistake. Nah, it's a sign of weakness. That's why I never apologize. You think I'm going to apologize for this act that I'm just doing now? No, no. I will defend it to the death. What do I got to lose? I can't be canceled. I'm not in the syndication. Okay. Now we're going to go about the lament of the elderly. Apparently, they had an article in the paper where the Hooters girls did not like middle-aged men to elderly men making their little passes. Oh, Hooters girls, you disappoint me. Here we are, giving you big tips. Then you think up, my cat. Yes, I'm a cat man, but that doesn't mean that I'm not a man's man. Now, the truth is, what happens is you go in there and you're at your last and you're not going to follow through. You flirt a little with the big breasted girl who has the Hooter shirt on. She's supposed to say, oh, isn't that cute? Look at him. He's nearly 80 and he still has a little life in him. He has dreams. Those dreams will never come from flirtation. You don't even have to imagine what his dreams are because they're probably a young woman's nightmares. It's very fine when you're an aging lech. Nobody understands. Nobody understands. Talking about aging leches, apparently the Don, or as I call him, Donnie is going to go for the gold again. And you know what they say? His opponent, you know who it might be? This may be inappropriate from your point of view, me mentioning her beauty, the lovely AOC. Now, I don't exactly agree with the politics of AOC, but she is some cutie. The idea, and she is going to be 35 by then. She's going to be legally able to with the president, to go for the presidency. It's true. It's true. Can you imagine? The Don, the Mr. Trumper versus AOC for all the marbles in 2024? This would be interesting. He said, well, what about Biden? Look, let's face it. Biden don't look so good. I call him the crypt keeper. Whether you agree with him or not, politically, the man is not a healthy man. And as for Harris, that cackle enough will undo her. She cannot, I don't know what she has to do, but she cannot, every time you ask her a question, she can't go, it's frightening. It's frightening. I'm not getting into politics. I try to be like the Swiss used to be, neutral. People take, although politically I've been all over the place. I've voted for the Republicans. I've voted for the Democrats. I voted for the civil libertarian people. I voted for the rents too high people. I voted for the commies. And I'm no commie. You shouldn't get drunk on voting, election day. Anyway, Michael, I just read a thing about what happened when The Godfather was made. And apparently James Caan, Robert Duvall, and Brando were filled with hijinks and annoyed Robert De Niro and what else was the other guy? The other I can't remember. My brain's going. The one who played Michael Corleone. Apparently, what would happen is the Brando would wound people. He would come up to you, come to Marlon Brando. You imagine people worshiping this man at that point. Let me show you my ass. What the hell? What the hell, Mr. Brando? Wherever you are, Mr. Brando. Gone, the great beyond. And mooning people. I do not like practical jokes personally. I would not like to be mooned by Marlon Brando if I was doing acting with him. Oh, banter, human clever banter I can do. But be mooned by Marlon Brando, I would not consider that an honor. Anthony Hopkins, if Anthony Hopkins dropped his pants and exposed himself to me, I would not consider that. Amen. Now, let me tell you something. This whole thing that's going on in the former Soviet Union has got me a little perturbed. Apparently, Putin is out of his freaking mind. And he's in charge of the Russians. Well, I like Russians. I've known a lot of Russians, and all the ones I know are pretty nice people. So every time they say, oh, the Russians are bad and all that stuff, I kind of feel bad because I know Ukrainians, I know Russians, the people I personally know are nice people. Yet, how can we, I believe what we should do is separate the bad Russians from the good Russians. Like we used to separate the Germans from the Nazis. Maybe we could call the bad Russians who follow this maniac Putniks. Those Putnik bastards. Well, that's what I think. I like that to go viral, personally. Then I would be the person who started the viralness. That's one virus that I'd like to spread. Now, another thing, what's going crazy with the world? Ping pong pool gym, with the gyms. Apparently, the gyms and pool halls and ping pong centers and bathhouses are not having people at the desk. They're not hiring people. You can walk in there with a key and set yourself up and start working out. But in these vile times where people do sex and send the genitalia through the air when cameras, apparently people start having orgies in the gyms. They work out in more ways than one. I find this disturbing. I find it gross. And I find it making me a little jealous because I'm too old for that. No. Nobody wants to see me doing an orgy. And it's hurtful. It's hurtful. Orgies. When I used to dream of them. Now I don't do anything but watch Netflix again and again. Now about the Germans, I am of Irish, Scotch, English, German, Italian, and French persuasion. In other words, I'm a mother. I take a certain amount of ethnic pride in each of my ethnic parts. And, we try to not look at the bad part of our ethnic parts, like the restlessness of the Germans. I view them not as rather aggressive tourists, personally. But World War II, World War I, we kind of beat the mean out of them. Now they're actually, they're very efficient, but they are not the most violent people in the world. In fact, when Ukrainians needed weapons, the Germans basically were going to send helmets. Helmets! Germans, look, we don't want you to get restless again, but on the other hand, we need you to be a little more aggressive in the face of the Putniks. Okay. Another thing. Joe Barher and Kerry. Kerry was worried that this war that's going on in Europe might take us away from the concept of global warming. Well, Joy Behar was frightened and upset that radiation might spread and ruin her Italian vacation, which she was planning. Joy, 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 joy. I think there's more upsetment. You should be upset about the apocalypse, not that you will not be able to drive around the hills of Italy in the little restaurants. Anyway, coming back to this, you know the little guy who was in Game of Thrones, I forget his freaking name. He's an activist now for the little people. He's a midget. He kind of screwed up the situation when they had a movie about the Seven Dwarfs. He said, "Oh my God, typecasting! Oh my God, this is wrong. This is politically incorrect. I resent this." First off, the Seven Dwarfs were good people. They took Snow White in. They didn't molest her. They were good people. And they were a credit to the shiny people. And it's not demeaning to do a movie which you have a dwarf when you are a dwarf. It's not like dwarf tossing, which, though fun, is very questionable in terms of respect for the dwarfs. But when they canceled out dwarf tossing in the 80s, a lot of little people went out of work. Now, apparently, Mr. Game of Thrones was doing Cyrano Bergerac, by the way, and that's based indirectly on the shortness, and it's unrealistic. A bunch of dwarves working in a mine is realistic. They could do that. You can't be playing sword to play with being this little. That's ridiculous. You know, that I know I'm supposed to suspend my concept of disbelief, but you're a little tiny jerk. I'm gonna tell you right now. Right now. And that's from a guy who bears a striking resemblance to Santa Claus. I wasn't always looking like Santa Claus. This is me. Look at that. Look at that. That's when I was going to gyms. We didn't have orgies going on in those gyms. Anyway, this is my comedy act. You feel free to evaluate. Don't be too harsh. It's the first time I did it. I'm not made of iron. So you just say, "Oh, that's very good. It was kind of amusing." You know, and if you say something critiquing in a negative way, I'll just ignore you. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Bye. Bye. Okay.